What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Next Win podcast with your host, Aunt Ma, co-host,
Justin Vaseur,
guest,
William Win, the lender.
What's up? What's up? We got the crew back for another episode. Thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate, and we appreciate all the listeners and the viewers. We're going into this new topic, which is what, Justin?
Well, right now there's a lot of costs when you buy a home, closing costs, down payments, and things like that. Like, is it worth paying an agent commission?
Ooh, that's a big question. I think that's why a lot of people hate realtors, because when they don't get the full service, they're like, why did I just pay this guy commission?
Yeah.
Right?
And then also, too, like, is a commission paid from the buyer or seller, or like, how does that work?
So right now, what happens is if you want to sell your home, you hire an agent, or you can sell your home yourself for sale by owner. If you choose to get an agent, then you will work out a negotiation with the agent on a percentage for selling the home, usually 5 to 6%. There's no set number. Some people I've heard of doing like 10% if they're trying to really scam people. But, just good ethics, about 5 to 6%. And to answer your question, does a buyer pay it? Yes and no. Technically, the money comes from the sale of the house, which is from the buyer, but the commission comes from the seller. So let's just say the seller's agent collects 6%. They will give half their commission to the buyer's agent for, whoever helps them find a home, they're going to split half their commission with. And that's the other agents.
So 3% each, if it's 6%.
Yeah, and that's hard. It's usually about 5%. So 2.5%, or 2% and 2% if the seller's like, look, I just want to give you 4%, right? And so, is that worth it to the seller? Look, I've sold 2 homes myself, for myself. No, let me rephrase that. So, I've sold 1 house before I was a realtor, and my friend was the real estate agent for me. And when I sold that house, not once did I think, why am I paying this guy commission? Or I could do this myself. If my friend can do it, I can do it. I never thought about that. I was like, oh, I'm so happy. I made 40 grand and I'm so happy that I had a great agent.
Mm-hmm.
I think when you have a good agent, you don't think about that stuff. When you have a bad agent is when you think, damn, why did I pay that? Right? So
there's a lot of work into that. Like, because I've sold a house before. I used it realtor before you became a realtor. There's a lot of work. They have to do a lot of research, right? You have to market the house. Like some of these, you have to hire videographers, photographers come in, stage the house. There's a lot of work.
I would say that if you sold your house for what you didn't want, or you sold for a lot less than you thought, that's when you're thinking like, damn, I shouldn't have paid this guy commission. Well, I don't think that's the problem. It's more of you hired the wrong agents, or maybe you should have sold it yourself, because you did have that option, right? If you sold it yourself, you don't pay anybody commission. It all goes to you as a seller. But
do you have the time to do all that? If you sell it yourself,
when you have a good agent and you get way more than what you thought, you don't give a fuck how much you paid this guy.
So what does that mean? Like, so if the seller's agent is able to get the house like what, $100K over asking,
correct,
like stuff like that.
It's all negotiating, dude. So, and then the house inspection, they're all negotiating.
Yeah. How would you feel if we listed your house for $600K and we ended up selling for like $700K? Do you care about paying me that commission?
No.
Happy as fuck, right?
Right.
Exactly. And that's a lot of agents out there that are pretty good that can do that for you. So like I said, these people are just hiring the wrong people. They're hiring the bad apples.
So what if like you're saying that you're getting your clients hella good deals and all that stuff, negotiating on the price of the home, all these things. On the other end, does that make are you going through like a seller agent?
Yeah, right now we're talking about the seller's agent.
Yeah, so like
another agent, 2 agents.
Yeah, so right now, okay, you guys are negotiating, right?
Yeah.
So then if on the other side they're taking a hit, is that a bad seller agent?
Who's taking a hit? Oh,
like because you're negotiating the price on the house, right?
Yeah.
And then also like closing costs, whatever.
Yeah.
Does that make them a bad agent?
No, because it's just all part of negotiating.
I'm sorry.
I think you're the buyer, he's the buyer, and then he's negotiating for the sale of the house. And then we're getting the seller's credits. Does that make the seller agent bad?
Oh,
because if they're trying to get the highest price, but then now you're negotiating down the price.
Yeah,
is that bad?
No. So here's the thing: when you're asking for seller's credit, meaning that the buyer is asking for some credit back to help with, buying down the rate or closing costs, it's because that house is not a hot home and it's not going to sell right away. Meaning that if you're the seller and you know your house is going to take a while to sell and that eventually you might have to drop the price on your home, instead of dropping the price on your home, you can give like 10 grand to the buyer for help. And that buyer will be way more committed to buy your home rather than you drop your price $10,000 and then you got to find the right buyer. Then that buyer is going to try and lowball and all this stuff. Like it becomes really bad. So if your house is hot, it's hot. It's going to sell. But in today's market, in certain areas like Vegas, most houses are not hot right now.
It wouldn't make the seller agent bad because the seller agent would have done all the research. And kind of their job is to talk to the seller. That's your homie basically. Now.
I see.
You talk to him like, hey, this is he did all his research. You done all your research. All the houses been selling this much. This is how much room we have. You do your research on the house. That's why you're paying him. He's doing research on the house. He's looking at the house. He go, all right, this might be called in. So he calculates everything in that, and you guys create a minimum. Right. I would think the minimum. This is how low we can go, but we'll price it here, and that's how much playroom. And then. And his job to kind of negotiate to save you as much from going down, but you have that buffer set where you're allowed to get back, right? So that's the job of the seller's agent is to figure all that out before you go open.
Yeah, for sure. Like so when we talk, we're like, hey, what's the minimum you want to sell for, and what's the goal, the max? Mm-hmm. And we never price it at the minimum or the max. We price it somewhere down the middle, and we try to get over bids. But like in today's market, where it's harder in Vegas. We're probably going to list it. I mean, it really depends. Right now, you probably just list it at the max and shoot your shot. But last year, you would be under listing your house and getting over bids to attract more people, right? But either way, you're giving your seller, like Justin, if you're selling your home, I'm giving you two options. Hey, dude, it's been 2 months and no one's really biting because the rates jumped up. So people are kind of not trying to look for a home right now. Do you want to drop your price $10K or do you want to give the buyer some credit $10K to help them?
That's why it's worth paying an agent, in my opinion, because doing that, you work full-time job. You don't have any time to negotiate. You have someone there that does it every day, that watches the market, that knows what he's like. That's their job to kind of help you, guide you through all that. And get the best out of it. So
I think what people don't know is they think that, okay,
they don't do anything.
There's a seller's agent. He doesn't do anything. He's just trying to sell my house. But when you come into these scenarios where you have to adjust something to sell the home, like you don't, people tend to forget that this guy also helps people buy homes. So he knows what buyers want. You know what I mean? So that's why it's really vital and important to have an agent.
Now, the scenario that you were painting where, like, would you rather give the person $10K or drop your house price?
Yeah.
What are the benefits to each? Or, what isn't it kind of the same thing?
One benefits keeps the house prices in the neighborhood high because you're selling at the same price, because it doesn't show you're giving credit back to the client. It just shows how much the house is sold. So it keeps all the property values the same. But if one house dips, then the next house, the same, right? When one house goes up, the other houses go up. If one house dips, now the other house is going to dip. So it's this.
Yeah, I think.
But what's the benefit to the individual making that decision?
I would say that maybe it's more tax write-offs. I don't know, because when you sell your house for more, you actually got to pay more. Right. So it's actually not beneficial for them. It's more beneficial for them to give the buyer the credit. That just helps them in so many more angles.
Yeah.
I think in a way it helps them not lose more money because you're pricing it higher and you're giving the credit back, so you're taking less of a hit. But if you price it lower and give credit again, then you're taking less money back, in my opinion, right?
If it was if I was a shark agent and I'm like, hey, Justin, the seller, I think you shouldn't give 10K credit back. I think we should just sell your house with like, I'm sorry, it's the opposite. All right, let me rephrase this. I think that you should really just give 10K credit back instead of dropping your house 10K. Actually, so this benefits everybody because if you just give 10K credit to the buyer, your purchase price is still the same. So as a shark, I'm still getting a higher commission. But if you dropped your price 10K, I wouldn't get a higher commission. It's actually just bad overall for everybody. It's bad for you as a seller because you're starting the negotiating process all over again at that new price, trying to attract new buyers with the same mentality. And it's just a lose-lose for everybody. And I don't think people realize that. But they always go, inexperienced agents will always tell them like, hey, just drop the price. Just keep dropping it. Drop it.
Because every scenario is different. Because when you see a house price drop, you can be like, why did it drop?
Yeah.
So the next person that looks, like, let's say you drop the price and you go into escrow and the buyer doesn't qualify for the loan. Now the house goes back on the market and it shows that it dropped price, right? And now you're back to square one, and now people are gonna ask, why did that drop price? And it's gonna keep go lower and lower. You know what I mean? So like if you kept the price high and give the credit back, and the buyer falls out of escrow, the house still sells for that list price originally. Yeah. I think that's one benefit.
I just helped a client buy a home this week, and the price they got was $150,000 less than what it was offered in the very beginning. Yeah. So I saved my client $150,000.
I didn't think he was gonna get it done.
I didn't think so either.
As our buyer, we met him. They listen to our podcast, right?
Yeah.
And they're from far away, and then they told us what they wanted. And I'm like, we're not gonna get this.
It's impossible.
And then he made it possible.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? So in my head, I'm thinking, was the home just overvalued?
At
or
the time,
is it like 150K off of what the other houses are valued at?
No, so like on day one, it was listed, it was set at the right price, and then all of a sudden rates shot up. So, but it was set at the right price, and they had a buyer. They went into escrow with this buyer, and then they fell out of escrow because the person who was buying the home, they had their own home to sell, and they didn't get what they wanted, so now they couldn't buy the home. So it dropped out of escrow.
Is that what it's contingency? Or?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so, when that happens, now you just lost 30 days. And now you're on past 30 days and your home hasn't sold. So now you got to do a price drop to grab more attention because people are like, it's been sitting here for a month. Why hasn't it sold?
Yeah.
So they dropped it like 2 times, So it went from like 1.2 mil to 1.1 mil. And then I came in, I'm like, damn, it's 70 days, guys. What's going on here? And then I'm like, my buyers want this for $1 million. And they're like, no, sorry, we can't do that. And I'm like, well, what can you do? They're like, well, maybe $1.75 million. They turned down cash offers for $1.50 million. I was like, no, I can't do that. I think the max I can do for you is like $1.50 million. We can't do 1.1. It's already at the top of their budget. And so we do all this verbal negotiations back and forth. In the end, she's like, you know what? I can't do this. They won't take it. You're talking about $150,000 off of what they originally started with. I'm like, yeah, I totally get it. It is worth 1.2. But this was a turning point for what I told the agent. I said, look, all we can do is $1,050,000. Okay. If you don't ask them for this and push for this, we don't have a deal here. This is the only way you can save it for both of us, for you and for me to keep moving forward. And she's like, okay, let me see what I can do. Because I told her it's a dead deal. This is the only way to save it. And so she came back and she's like, they don't know. And then she kind of ghosted me for like a day. Next day at like 10 p.m., out of nowhere, she's like, "Hey, write up the contract." I'm like, "Oh shit, we got it." You know what I mean? Like, because maybe they waited another day to see if they got any interest.
I think it's all about how it's the same thing, how good a realtor you are and how you approach situations. Because a different realtor can say exactly what Ant said, and it'll come off as he's a dick, and the other realtor will be like, "Nah, fuck you."
Yeah, that happens most of the time. And I've been through that situation where people were like, "No, you're out of your mind. We're not going to do that." You know? But what changed for me was saying, "Look, this is the only way to save the deal for both of us." And then they're like, "Shit, this guy's on my team."
Mm-hmm.
And then they try their hardest, and then we always get it.
Yeah, just making that connection. So that's why good realtor got it done. I was amazed.
I'm just trying to be everybody's friend, and that's how it works. So I hope that answered a lot of questions in today's episode.
Yeah.
If you guys have any questions, or if you want a good realtor like me and a good lender like him, and or you're trying to sell your home and you need a good photographer like Justin, hit us all up.
Pick our brain.
Send us some comments. You'll see all of our emails in the description box. So we'll see you guys next time on the Next Win Podcast.